They are all coming to locate themselves in Igbo land, that there's no security in Igbo land, that they will come there and then they will deal with us. And that the dumb man was just flippant. Maybe he took something. He said, do you know Ibadan? Lagos Expressway? We are in all the bush there. We're everywhere there. We're also in the south. So we are waiting for the slightest signal. We will finish you people and take over this land. So they claim that Nigeria belongs to Fulani. They said it. That is why we are afraid of, I've been talking about this open grazing and this Roga. Yeah. They have a plan. And I accuse the soldiers who are not non-Christians. Some of them are Fulani. They are part of it. Well, they are shooting these men. When our people wanted to comb the bush, the soldiers said, if you move a step, we'll finish you. Don't go there.
They are forcibly occupying their land and telling them that they cannot do anything about it. A whole presidency in a country openly and brazenly supporting terrorists. All of you watching and listening all over the world, you know that Miyetti Allah is a terrorist organization. You know that. They have killed. They have said that Benue State is theirs for the taking as a spoil of war. All of you are aware of it. You know what they are doing. Anywhere you have Fulani headsmen, terrorists for that matter, they tell you, oh, they are pastoralists. They are allowed to do their businesses in the forest. All of you are aware of it. But you kept quiet, hoping that somehow Tinubu will emerge as the president, or an Igbo man will come as a president, and your family will start enjoying. But in the meantime, you have no more farmlands, you have no more forests, you have nowhere you can call your own home. The same stupidity exhibited by Hausa peasants that enabled Fulani to take Sokoto from them, that enabled Fulani to take Katsina from them, that enabled Fulani to take even Kanu from them. Every Hausa land is occupied either by a Fulani emir or a Fulani governor.
They have a plan. This issue or incidents happened more than 2 or 3 years ago. And the prelate of Methodist Church was kidnapped, and in the process, he was tortured and eventually paid a ransom of 100 million naira before he secured his release. And this was his revelation. It was a first-hand experience he had with the terrorists that have taken over the forest bed of the southeastern region. So when we are discussing issues of importance, some people might take it just for a joke. These are realities. I mean, this happened during Buhari's time. Now that they have expanded their tentacles, it is clear now that the entire forest of the southwest, the southeast, the south has been taken over, because in the space of 3 years, they may have solidly, of course, consolidated themselves, expanded their tentacles and base across the region. They, of course, have spread themselves. They use night and trucks during the night to distribute themselves across the southern region or the eastern part of the country. This is quite unfortunate. This incident of kidnap involving the prelate of the Methodist Church took place more than 3 years ago. Now, 3 years down the line, there had been several incidents of escalation of the same people. Look at the revelation the man made, the prelate made, that they said the man was flippant. He thought, of course, he could have taken something, of course, that gave him such hints. That would have been a very, very intelligent report if the southeastern governors really meant well for the people. This would have given them an opportunity to have put facilities, modalities, security structure in place to protect the people, not to fight against their political rivals, just as we have seen in the case of the security outfit floated by these governors. They fought against the Eastern Security Network that has the collective interest of the masses of protecting the forest bed and the borderlines, so that these people will not find a safe haven within the eastern region. But unfortunately, they fought with all their powers, with all their arsenals and resources, of course, with the conspiracy of the local men who are too gullible to have understood that they are just trading their own life and prosperity. Just as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu revealed, that they will take over your land. You have no place to call your land and homes today. These are realities staring at us. You can understand what the Methodist prelates suffered in the hands of these people. This is within Okiwe, his own community. It's quite unfortunate. This is not in Zamfara or Kebbi or Kaduna or Kano. He was kidnapped in his own vicinity and was forced to pay ransom, and eventually that affected, the torture affected one of his eyes. As you can see in this video, he reveals that these people said they have distributed themselves across the regions of the country and they are just waiting for the signal to strike. At that signal, that moment, the plan they have is materializing as they continue to expand and distribute themselves and procure more ammunition or munitions to fight against the people. Sadly to note, the people are still sleeping. The Fulani hegemony and advent, of course, could not be taken or dismissed with such level of ignominy. I have made a video prior to this time. I hope you get it, as I instructed or requested that this video should be shared so that people will get sensitized on what is happening and the way to preserve their heritage. Now, if a man of his caliber, the prelate of Methodist Church, you understand what it means to have raised 100 million within a space of few days, you understand the need for security. He was fortunate that he was not killed. Of course, many people paid ransom and could not survive this. So Mazi Nnamdi Kanu have raised this concern. We are also sensitizing the people, of course, of what is going on. He made revelations that the southwestern region has already been conquered, or perhaps they have taken hold of the forest bed of the southwestern region. This has played out in most recent time. We have seen escalations before the southwestern governors eventually convene an emergency meeting to address that and have floated some security or mobilized the Amatekus, possibly to comb the forest. There have been several altercations, confrontations with Amateku and the rest of them. They have lived about 1,000 or more of the terrorists, of course, manufacturing bombs across Oshobo, Ibadan, and the rest of them. So the prompt reaction or response perhaps may have saved the situation in the southwestern region, but that is not to say that they are free from such attacks and invasions, because this is just one out of too many that was discovered. The other 99 of them that are still hidden out of the reach or the sight of the locals. You can imagine these people will come to your forest and occupy the most advantageous part of the forest and build their base, establish their base and consolidate themselves while they are being supplied with armament and armories, whatever they need for sustenance. Through helicopter will come, locate them and drop it there, or possibly by night, and the bit of conveying goods from the north to the east. They will also move through that trail. It's quite very unfortunate. So we are fighting from both sides. There are enemies within. Even, of course, we can no longer live in that denial. This has informed the reason of recently you see the TV youths have said, if these people really have a plan, it is no longer an issue of controversy. The Fulani have a plan and have a roadmap. When they use their cattle by day, they survey the terrain and retire to their, of course, place of abode and eventually unleash sudden attack, raid the community, invade the communities, having mastered the in and out of those localities, just as they are studying the map and the terrain where they occupy. You might see them as just mere shoemakers or people that is speaking some crafts and the rest of them, but they have very ulterior motive. They are just spies sent to monitor. You might see them as just, they say they are farmers, they are this, but they have ulterior motive. They want to collect data, they want to sample the demography and the topography of those regions, and eventually how to maneuver their ways should eventually they are being chased after. It's quite very disturbing, and some Igbo communities are so docile, so reluctant to not have taken note of the continued influx of aliens, foreigners. Some might claim they are from Jos, they are from Benue, and the rest of them. There should be strict examination and inquest to ascertain where and what they represent, why they are there, and eventually for the sake of security. But how many people are doing that? Nobody cares. Everybody to himself, and people are busy pursuing money, not knowing eventually they could end up not eating the money, because you need to preserve your life and that of your families. If at the end of the day you make the money and only end up paying it as ransom, and sometimes such person's life might not be spared. That is quite unfortunate. We have seen series of cases 3 years down the line. Escalations of such has become rampant and regrettable. Why? Because the eastern region neglected or despised the warnings, the promptings of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu. Those who claim to be political elites, who claim to be all-knowing today, they have seen how woefully they have fared, not just themselves, but the entire population. See the kind of kidnapping, assault going on, raping of our women, as I earlier mentioned, is quite unfortunate. The TV traditional ruler was outspoken. In fact, I never knew that we still have such traditional ruler who could be so audacious to express himself, to tell the powers that be the truth, even when they tend to live in denial or cover up the truth just for their political or selfish interests. He made it very clear, unequivocally. He was blunt, calling the Mr. President that, see, it's high time we start deceiving ourselves, that these people has a plan and their intention was to annihilate the indigenous people and overrun the entire region of this country and force Islamization on the ethnic nationalities regardless of the region they occupy. Just as the Ahmadu Bello once said that they are going to soak the Quran in the ocean, meaning they will overrun the entire ethnic nationalities, of course, with Islam. Islamization agenda, this has been sustained. This statement was made more than decades, several decades ago, and now it is coming to fruition. It is materializing. They are perfecting it. It's just like a long-term program, and consistently and continuously they continue to implement those agendas playing out. You see, they've started by controlling the economy of the country, the democratic presence and democratic power, so that they could control the resources that will enable them garner more resources to execute such. And they have been successful in their plan. It has been progressive, trying to protect their interests for that particular reason. This has been formed the reason why the bomb mentality has been expressed over decades, even right from independence of the Nigerian state. The North claims they are born to rule, while others, unfortunately, are born to be subjected and subjugated, just as what is playing out now. What is the way forward? The TV youth have demonstrated, of course, that internal vigilance is the price to pay for safety and security. And they have said, we can no longer watch ourselves being killed as cowards. We rather we die fighting than bow our knees as slaves. And they have demonstrated such courage that no, they cannot watch while the entire ethnic nationality get into extinction. We must rise to defend our interests and our posterity. Otherwise, there will be no ethnic nationality called the TVs. And the Idomans and the rest of them possibly are now waking up to the reality. These men, great warriors, but suddenly they become subjugated for whatever reasons, possibly to get some political advantage, believing that they align with the North as they are being addressed, but not knowing that they are not North. They are just being used. Their medical strength are being used, of course, to hide and project the secret agenda of the Islamic Caliphate. And today, they have shown them the exit way, that you are not part of the North. If they are part of the North, why should the North be fighting against itself? It's quite unfortunate today, but the reality is staring at us. They have a plan, and that plan has been swung into actions. So I commend the TV traditional ruler who was outspoken and dare to tell the president what is happening. Possibly his security should be intensified and more security orderlies attached to him, because this is a man who has demonstrated courage and passion, sincerity for his people, regardless of whose God is God. He has to tell the powers that be the honest. How many of this could we see in the eastern region or Igbo-dominated region of the eastern region? It's very unfortunate. How many of the traditional rulers can be vocal to express itself, to address the myriads of killings, even to the local governments, let alone discussing or talking to the state to take proactive actions? They have become more or less molds. They have become puppets and slaves to the politicians because they are accepted possibly to be ruled in the peril of the government and will not do whatever that will not protect the interests of their paymasters. But this man was bold, was courageous, have demonstrated the man in him, and that is quite commendable. Now, some people are still watching. What do we do? Rather than lamentation, endless lamentation, the people have taken it upon themselves that we can continue to wage. Of course, the military has disappointed us. This is very clear. With what we have seen, the Fulani hegemony will not cease. Their intention of overrunning the country will not cease except they meet swift resistance, just as the man revealed and the prelate of the Catholic Church, of the Methodist Church, revealed that they said that Eastern region, the Igbo land, has no security, that they have monitored and sampled different regions and discovered that it's so porous. Everybody about his business. Nobody bothers about security concerns. Haven't discovered this. They say, these people could be overrun just a matter of days. Let's facilitate and mobilize ourselves strategically, position ourselves so that when we hit them, of course, they could not, by the time they say Jack Robinson, fortunately, they will be overrun. This, in fact, the reason why we have been calling on every concerned citizen of the Eastern region, most especially the Igbo race, are the major target of this hostility. They have to rise in defense of their right and the inalienable right to life and preservation of their cultural heritage and posterity. Otherwise, this revelation is clear. Otherwise, of course, there could be rights if they have good security. The local securities are functional. Why should the Fulanis invade the forest? And yet people could not dictate. They have been there operating and hitting and retiring back to the forest without being detected. It is quite horrible. Now, 3 years down the line, you can see the devastated effect of this. The extraordinary rendition of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu and the subsequent summon of Simon Ekpa, who was vocal and has spoken today. You can now envisage and imagine, without these three people, the damage, of course, that have caused the Eastern region. You can now imagine when they are saying they have expanded their tentacles, they're just waiting for the right time to strike, and they're making posts of that. You can imagine telling you to your face that you have no security, we have rounded you up, you are just a sheep being taken to the slaughter. It's just a matter of time, of course, that will happen. These have informed the reasons why responsible personalities have been calling. What are you doing, Umibo, to turn on Umra? What are you doing? The TV people has awakened the consciousness, as Mazi Nnamdi Kanu revealed. What has happened to the northern Hausas, unfortunately, is irreparable. They have lost virtually everything. Their state, their traditional dynasty has been taken over. They are more or less just left just with the language, but the very essence, the substance, the resources of their land is being controlled by the caliphate. It is quite unfortunate. They want to dominate and control you, but this is not what they are coming now. They are coming for total annihilation, just as what is going on. Operation sweep off, and that is quite unfortunate. If there is anywhere such could be implemented, I strongly believe could be the Eastern region, because they are being hated for who they are, and being that they have been considered as infidels, people that don't deserve to live. I wonder what could have informed them or given them such position. But then the people have to rise. If they fail, sadly, that would be their fate. These have been the reasons. It is time to rise. There is no other time, wasting time. The prelate reverend, or the prelate of the Methodist Church, has barred his mind, have made very strong position or revelation. With that disclosure, of course, people should work with that and defend themselves. That is just the truth. Sadly, people have been adopted and killed today. Mercilessly begin to ask, what exactly is happening? Really, the security of the Eastern region has been destroyed, most recently, and with the use of the willing vessels and political elite from the Southeastern region. They begin to fight, as Gumi once called on the governors to use the Igbo youths to fight against the ESN, which eventually they ignorantly deployed the Igbo youths in the name of Ibubago and the rest of them to fight their Eastern brothers, instead of forging a common front, a synergy to fight the common enemies. Now that they have brought down the Eastern Security Network, is no longer fashionable, of course, across different regions of the Eastern region. Now, they flooded in their men to take over the advantageous region of the forest beds. Today, you can no longer go to the forest to farm. Again, it's quite unfortunate, without fear of being killed or raped to death. This is the war, the calamity, the Eastern governors and their willing vessels or sabotage has caused the Igbos. Sadly, more painful is that they have seen the in and out of the Igbos and have said and made a swift conclusion that Igbos has no security. But only time will prove them otherwise. But that time is now. There is no other time left to decide what happens tomorrow. But now, if the people continue to go to sleep, definitely they might wake up in the pool of their blood, and that will be history. Their sister home will be overrun and taken over. Is it the aged men and women will fight to defend the land? Sadly, you have seen the forceful disappearances of the Igbo youths. This was intentional, just to reduce the strength of defense of the Eastern region before the strike. Sadly, to a greater extent, they have achieved their intentions, and now might consider this time the an opportunity ripe to execute such actions. Well, only time will reveal, not until proactive actions have been taken, then you might live definitely to regret it. And there may not be a place called your home, as Mazi Simon Iba has revealed. Let's listen to him one more time.